Welcome to Acera's video on service credit. Service credit is one of the three factors in the retirement calculation formula that we multiply together to determine your lifetime retirement allowance. Because the formula is a multiplication, the more service credit you have, the higher your retirement allowance will be. So how do you get service credit? As an Acera member, while you work, you earn service credit toward retirement. If you work full-time in your retirement-eligible position for 20 years, you earn 20 years of service credit. If you work for 20 years and 15 minutes, you will have earned 20.00012 years of service credit at the time of retirement. So you can see that we measure service credit down to the fraction of a week, and you will get credit for all of the time you worked in the retirement formula. If you work part-time, you get part-time service credit. For example, if you work half-time for 10 years, you get 5 full-time years of service credit in the formula. If you have reciprocal service credit from another agency, it's not included in the formula. So you earn service credit while you work. You also earn service credit while you take your earned vacation, sick leave, management leave, and comp time, as well as holidays and floating holidays. There are other times when you don't earn service credit. 1. You don't earn service credit during overtime, on-call time, or standby time. 2. If you're ever out on unpaid leave, you're not earning service credit during that time. 3. If you purchase additional vacation from your employer, you don't earn service credit while you're using that purchased vacation time. 4. Sold vacation. If you sell your earned vacation to your employer to get extra cash, you don't get service credit for it. However, you may get salary credit for it. See our video on highest average monthly salary for more information on that. So now let's talk about purchasing service credit. There are some types of time that you did not already earn service credit for that may be purchasable as Acera service credit. Here they are. Days before Acera membership. This is the time between your first day of work and your first day of Acera membership, which for most people is the first day of your second pay period. You didn't earn service credit for that first 2 weeks, so that's purchasable. Part-time work that you didn't already earn service credit for is purchasable. This work is often when you started out part-time and you weren't an Acera member yet until you got your full-time retirement-eligible position. Although, you can't purchase work that was under contract or for an employment agency. Tap time, which is time worked for the county's temporary assignment pool. Unpaid medical leave. If you were on leave for a medical reason and you were not receiving pay from your employer, that means you were not earning service credit. You can buy that time back once you return from that leave for periods of up to 1 year per instance with a doctor's certification. This is only for your medical conditions, not when you're on leave caring for family members. State disability insurance leave time. If you were receiving partial pay from the state's disability insurance system and partial pay from your employer, you didn't earn service credit for the state disability insurance time. You can purchase any service credit you didn't earn from this time once you return from that leave. Military leave during membership. If you go out on military leave during your active membership, you can purchase that time when you return from that leave. Redeposit of prior memberships. If you used to be an Acera member in the past, and when you stopped working, you took a refund of your retirement contributions, that meant that you gave up your Acera membership and any service credit you had earned. But now that you're back working here, and you're an Acera member again, you can put that money back and get your service credit back. And finally, other prior public service. If you used to work for another public agency in California, and you're not eligible for a retirement from their pension system, probably because you didn't work there for very long, you can buy that time as Acera service credit. For example, if you worked for the Port of Oakland for a year, that is probably not enough time for you to be eligible to collect a retirement from the port. So you could buy that year as Acera service credit time. The following types of time are not eligible for purchase: vacation purchase time, non-medical leave without pay, contract time or time worked for a temporary agency, and service time from another public employer where you still have contributions on deposit with that employer. So how much does it cost for you to buy service credit if you have eligible time to buy? Well, you will have to pay whatever your employee retirement contribution would have been had you worked the time. For example, if you're trying to buy 6 months of unpaid medical leave, had you worked for that 6 months, you would have been contributing to the retirement system from each paycheck. This is what you pay to purchase that time, plus interest. We need to charge interest because had you made your contribution at the time, that contribution would have earned interest in Acera's fund. So you're going to have to pay the interest that would have been earned. Acera posts the interest that the fund earns to all of our accounts at the end of each June and December. So if you're trying to buy service credit, you will have to pay the interest from all the June and December interest periods that have happened between the time that you're trying to buy and now. So you can see that the longer you wait to purchase service credit, the more expensive it gets because of the interest. So what exactly will it cost, and how do you start the process? Your first step is to submit a service credit purchase request to Acera. You can do it in 2 ways. First, you can log into your personal account through our Web Member Services portal by visiting acera.org and clicking the Account Login button. Once you log in, click the Web Forms link, and you'll see the service credit purchase request form there. Alternatively, you can fill out our PDF form by visiting acera.org/forms and selecting the purchase request form. In both cases, you give us the details of the time you think is eligible for purchase, and we will do research and calculations. Then we'll send you a letter in the mail telling you whether the time is purchasable and how much it's going to cost. At that point, you can decide whether you want to make the service credit purchase or not. You could also decide to purchase just a portion of the time, depending on how much you want to spend. The exception to that is the redeposit, which is all or none. Also, if you're going to purchase other prior public service time, it can cost double or even triple, because you have to pay both the employee and employer contribution. When you decide to move ahead with your service credit purchase, you have 4 options for paying. You can make a lump sum payment by writing us a check, or you could roll over funds from another retirement account if you have one, or we could break up the cost into payments and deduct them straight from your paycheck. The maximum amount of time you can make payments over is the amount of time you're trying to buy. So if you're trying to buy a year's worth of service credit, for example, we can split the payments up over a year maximum. And your 4th option is you can do any combination of the above. One thing to note is the only option for paying on a pre-tax basis is rolling over funds from a pre-tax retirement account like a 457B. One more thing about service credit. Let's talk about what happens to your unused sick leave at retirement. If you go straight from active work into retirement, you'll get half of your unused sick leave as service credit. For most employees, there's a cap on how much of your unused sick leave can be converted to service credit. The cap is usually listed in your Memorandum of Understanding, or MOU. Most MOUs limit the unused sick leave that can be converted to service credit to 125 days, which would convert to 62.5 days of service credit because you get half. Any sick leave over the cap, you lose. Acera will convert your sick leave automatically if you go straight into retirement. Going straight into retirement means your first day of retirement is the next day after your termination date, which is your last day of work or active employment status. So if your termination date is on a Friday, your first day of retirement is the next day on Saturday. Alternatively, if you stop working but don't retire yet, which means you defer your membership, you lose all your accrued sick leave and you don't get service credit for it. For more information on service credit, visit acera.org/service.